Hello and welcome to Safaricom Newsroom podcast. Today, we are speaking about innovation for the customers. And this being the Customer Obsession Month, I'm joined by guests who are at the center of developing solutions for the society. And they're going to be sharing with us some of the insights and some of the ideas. And when we say tips of how they're able to innovate for the customer and literally put them at the center of everything that they do. And they develop solutions that solve real-life problems for the real-life people. So I'll allow them to introduce themselves, and I'll start on my left. Kindly introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
I'm Andrew. I'm in charge of innovation, research, and development. Our key motto is really to discover, accelerate, and scale solutions that speak to the customer. And we are guided by three main themes. One of them is customer. The other one is growth, to ensure that we continue to grow the business, but also simplicity, that also because internally we have our own customers, we can simplify our processes. So all in all, we are guided in solving for customer problems.
Oh, thank you so much, Andrew. Then I'll go to you. Can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Thank you, Julian, for this. I'm Kelvin Mutiso. I take care of user experience and design in financial services. In other words, I am the link between an idea and the development. You have an idea, think of building a house. You first need a blueprint, and then you need someone to draw it and how it will look. Then someone else will come build it. I am this person that paints.
Okay, that's a very important role that you play, being the link between the idea and also between the developer, because the developer has to see what they're building, right? So maybe you can go first on the question. How would you define innovation to a customer from the customer's perspective?
That requires you balancing and first understanding them. So getting to do research, dig deeper within your customers, understand them, and then look at the research and emerging trends. You will know how you can innovate. In user experience design, innovation doesn't necessarily mean inventing a new meaning. It can be a problem that we are having, but then it can be fixed.
How about Andrew? How would you define innovation from a customer's perspective?
Basically, define innovation from a process perspective. And every day, everyone is seeking to get better, whether you are seeking the next job or what you want to do. And really from the customer perspective, then it's where we're able to listen to all the customers' problems, and then we try and figure out how best can we help this customer.
So my question to you is, how do you ensure that innovation solves the customer's needs and it's not a tech person's fantasy?
At Safaricom, we've introduced agile ways of working. And what Agile does is, I know previously it was about tech and business teams, but it's also about bringing the customer in the room. So whenever we are doing designs, we always ensure the customer is left, right, center, and across all directions, and in all stages, and getting real customer feedback. In as much as tech is exciting, by having the customer in the room, then we are able to have the right technology to speak to the customer solution.
You said that you always make sure that you have a customer in the room. Is it literally in the room, like physically present, or is it the research from the customer?
It's in both ways, and I'll start from data and insights. Even before meeting the customer, There's a lot of big data and insights we can leverage. So once in a while, we're able to interact with the customer. So it's a mixture of both, trying to have all the touch points with the customer. It doesn't end there. Once a product is launched, we are always keen to ensure that we get feedback, whether it's from the call center, and that's why we have the call and retail centers. That's why we have webinars. We meet with youth when we do S4 programs, when we do the various mentorships, even when we go for community outreach through our foundation. We are in a bid to collect this feedback so that we can continuously now improve on some of the products that are out there in the market.
How do you ensure that the balance between creativity and the customer requirements when building your solution?
Let me take you back slightly. If you think, if you have UX and UI is what would get you in a job interview because they've loved what they've seen. UX is what gets you hired because you're explaining how that UI came.
And keeps you in the job.
And that's it. Yeah, it keeps you in the job when you do it well. When you have UX and the UI, the UX allows you to have a structure of how that flow should work in the best way. Then the UI is where now you bring creativity, all of it. Anything you've seen, is it a glass and you want text on top of it? It'll be cute, but then how will it work? Accessibility, this again. So it's a lot of mix and matching UX and the business needs, the customer needs, and what you as a specialist think is best.
Andrew, how do you... So there's an argument that I've had that the customers don't know what they want. True or false?
It's not about whether the customer knows, but trying to bring the best for the customer. And like that baby, when the conditions are right, the room temperature is right and things are working, you'll see a smile. If something is off, they'll not smile. And whether you have statistics or not, it's not the right environment and you need to do something. So innovation should actually look at it from that perspective. And maybe to add a bit about M-Pesa, and really it's at the cornerstone of innovation. At times you can't predetermine the outcomes because when you flash back to M-Pesa, some of the initial tests, it was supposed to be something for microfinance institutions, far from the personal P2P and the core business. And I think it speaks to an element of being able to pivot with the trends. From that point, then you figure out this thing can be big. And you don't stay at the initial stage of person to person. Then you go to who else can use this? Is it businesses? Can you make this go international? So innovation doesn't stop with the original idea. It needs to keep evolving and pivoting.
Even as I reflect about how we might have a solution where I'm able to get the phone to give me my cash money like you would do in an ATM. We had a solution called Tap and Go. What happened?
One thing, in fact, as I reflect on your question, is the amazing culture at Safaricom. It's a culture that enables you to experiment, to learn new things, and at times fail. And at times you'll find some of these ideas, probably it's a good idea, but not its time at that point. So again, when you look at the overall value to the customer, then probably it's not the right time. But the good thing is we do have an environment that encourages people to actually try out solutions, to see whether they are going to work. Those that work, we do scale them. And those that do not work, what we do is we do not discard them, but we put them in what we call a parking lot, because you'll find there'll come a time when it's going to be necessary. And I think now when you reflect the Tap and Go solution, probably it was a solution slightly ahead of time, because when you look at recent developments, with school kids, they have the Tap and Go solution. So probably it's the right time to reintroduce it.
Some leader mentioned that Safaricom, some of the departments are fully funded startups. You guys focus, you're allowed to fail, but fail forward, learn and avoid mistakes as you so move ahead. In terms of how many ideas come to me and never see the day of life, we have so many Figma files that are there, but then we use them as inspirations because it was an idea. Our key task is to give you a proof of concept. You have this idea of hustler fund. How can we do this? The person can be able to send, the person can be able to get money. But we also think someone can save. Yeah, you can do that. Do an iteration, it works. It serves the purpose of identifying and notifying that this is the idea we have, this is the solution, this is the problem. Some go, never see after chat with the stakeholders, the idea stops being a priority to them, so it gets into parking. Some go to even over a year. I've opened files that we did in 2022, and it's when now we are picking them up. Now we see when we pick them, you see, at least that idea was started. So now when we bring out the new tech, we bring in AI, we bring in what this person is doing this and that and that and that. We're not able to even give you an aggregated view because a spark was ignited, but then it's still here. Now we can amplify it into a solution that is very valuable to the customer, just like Andrew has been saying. These products need to be hooked to a real world problem for them to be very effective. So they will fail. I'll say we've failed even in design, even that UI, even in that flow. But then it's a build-up because that idea will be a spark for something different.
So what's the percentage?
Am I allowed to say that?
and maybe I can enrich on that.
I'm just very curious about the percentage, so that we also really with our audience.
Let me answer the question of percentage. I think for innovation, you can collect your stats and what have you, but the innovation, it's the one time that it works. It's not about the other 99 or 900 times it fails, but the key thing is to create that environment where it works, because when it works, it really transforms. And also to enrich and say, we also have governance in place to ensure that these failures don't affect our customers.
So maybe from the hackathon that you last did, out of all the ideas that were presented, how many, roughly what percentage of them ended up being successful?
Wow, so we have a couple. So it's been a couple of months. So we have 2 ideas. There's a third one. Out of, we had 96 ideas. And we have a couple, about 20% of them are actually being incubated within tribes and squads and are progressing. And the larger majority, some of them, like we said, there's no waste in innovation. So we'll actually pick some of those ideas that were not well formulated last time, and we'll still reintroduce them back and continue working with them. So in our case, we are seeing a very good success, very good customer outcomes from the ideas launched. One of them is the WhatsApp channel, whereby you can actually go and get queries regarding anything you require, other than trying to call our call center. So you have queries, you have hints on things you can do. We have another one that works in the back end, but it really helps to ensure that, especially when customers go and buy lines, that they get clean lines from the market that are not tied to any bank accounts or the rest. So these are some of the ideas that have come through. Another exciting idea, it's using IoT and technology, and we are currently leveraging actually our EDAC plant to manufacture some POC samples, and excited to see some of the ideas from last year being brought back in a bigger and better way, but also to see what new ideas, especially with AI, Gen AI, and as we're talking here with Kelvin, the realm of UI, UX, and when we think about metaverse, it's another dimension to that space. So really excited to see what we can build for the customer this year as well.
Motiso, tell us a story. I love stories here. I love to do stories. And tell us a story of a time that you saw an unmet customer need and you were able to solve it.
Early in the year, through UX design and GSMA, we did some research on women micro-entrepreneurs, specifically for Pochi. What I discovered was Pochi is quite huge, and merchants would like to use that statement for getting loans and finances, just like you take your M-Pesa statement or bank statements to get loan. So we discovered they needed a bit of heavy statements for them. So the solution that we thought of was, so these people need actually to export Pochi statements, which is not possible today. If you require it, you have to go to the retail shop. that was not known. It wasn't identified until when we got to the market, got to interact with a couple of them. Actually from Nakuru, Gikomba, quite insightful. Yeah, that's one bit I've seen. It was not seen, but then we figured a way for it.
So Andrew, describe a situation where you had to pivot or change direction because of customer feedback or change in market conditions.
I think for me it's many reflections because especially Safaricom is all about innovation and putting the customer at the center. And I'll share two basically because I sit at a position where you can see ideas coming from staff, some of our partners, and how we can take them to the market. But I'll first start with one experience that sort of tries to explain how this DNA works. It's something historical, and the reason why I share this is it's still relevant to today, and it's an innovation that works silently. So the story is, there was this time whereby, we do have our front and call center and retail agents. And at some point we felt as a company, we are not listening to the customer enough, because you'd have people seated in offices and others in the shops working. And we started something called In Your Shoes, where you'd spend a week, a cohort would be picked randomly across the organization, and you'd actually be seconded to a retail or a call center, sit in, listen to the challenges, and then part of the expectation was to come back and do a report and what can be done. So we had gone with some colleagues of mine, and we went to one of the retail shops in Nairobi CBD, and we were allocated different stations to work on, and it was exciting. Working off your normal station of duty is always exciting if you're learning new things. And I remember some of us were in a very interesting area. So there was this queue that was forming right within the shop floor where you have a bit of space. And we were a bit curious, and we asked a question. We are seeing this queue that is here. They're not going to any particular counter. What is the main challenge here? And actually that marked an exciting journey the rest of the week. We found out that these were people queuing for handset settings. I know it will take you aback. Why would anyone go to a retail center for handset settings? But it was a time when Android and iOS were actually entering the African market. And we discovered some of the things were, basic settings on the device. And we sat down for a week, we went through design thinking, and we asked ourselves a question, because also innovation is about a question. And the key question is, how can we? And the question we asked ourselves is, how can we eliminate this queue? And we went through, talking to some of the customers, visiting the shop again. And within 1 week, we had come up with a solution. Guess what? From that time till today, we've never had a queue of people doing settings, maybe in exceptional situations. And that really serves to define the DNA, going to where the customer is and empathizing with the customer, really feeling their pain. And you feel it when you're on the ground with them and listening to them in various forms. And from then on, it sparked in a group of us, how can we accelerate this? And that's when we started doing our first hackathons to identify problems. And I'm excited and now to share what that DNA has given birth to is an idea called Emratiba. This came from just that issue of spending time with the customer, constantly ideating. And it's one of the fairly recent among many, where you can have your standing orders on a mobile phone.
Where do you get the inspiration to take this product to the next level without the customer having raised it?
If you look at the characteristics of a futuristic product which hasn't been there or has been done but done differently, it needs to be easily accessible. Recently, also building for tomorrow, I actually learned we were at a store and we were making the board purchases. There was an 80 bob, there was a 130, but then 130 plus 80 You first have to make that math. But if you introduce the plus button on the pressure, you can just do 80 plus and 30 plus, and then it just, you see, it comes from interacting with the people, being there, listening to these problems. Some of these problems are not imaginary. They are actually problems we meet every day.
So Andrew, how does Safaricom leverage on AI, big data, and analytics to innovate for their customers?
Some of the fraudulent activities that were being faced by our customers previously could go on a case by case, try to arrest the same. But you realize that as our customer base grows, as the range of products grows, then you can no longer use traditional methods that are called rule-based to try and address those. And that's where AI and big data comes in to really help you to protect customers against fraud. In the future, then we'll continue to use AI and big data. And another aspect where, something like generative AI, which is AI that can create things, can also be used within the design process to empathize with customers. You can imagine asking your AI agent, how can we solve this problem to the customer? And it's able to run through, your data points and come up with the recommendation. So in future, we'll continue to use data and AI and emerging tech. Including AI is not the final technology. There will be more technology. And how we've structured ourselves is we are able to tap into any new technologies and any form of data to be able to serve and enrich our customers.
Kevin, he's talked about being able to serve all our customer base. And I'm wondering, how do you find the balance between innovating for the digital natives and innovating for our grandmothers, our grandfathers in the village who probably have a feature phone, and you're telling them to go to the M-Pesa app?
Yes.
So you want them to adapt by force.
An example is my grandma.
Yeah.
We recently got my grandma.
How old is your grandmother? You know your grandmother is 50 something.
Should be around 70 to 80, something like that. And then randomly on WhatsApp I saw her, but then it doesn't have a photo, nothing. So someone, relative probably put it for her. So when I went home, it was, okay, let me hotspot you. Then this is the app. And then you do this. When you receive money, this is where you see it. I tried teaching her, but then there is that a bit of more learning and more hearing. I realized ladies work more by, I had someone do it, so it's more referral based. So she hasn't met anyone that does that. Even though I work at Safaricom physically on the app, she still doesn't trust it. You see, now we still have to provide for her a solution because it's needed.
Until you win over the trust part.
True.
Okay. There's a statement that you say that I really liked about the customer.
I'm a big fan of making your customer better, makes them a better customer for you. If I improve your life, you'll do more transactions. Rather, like there'll be more, it's more of reciprocation. What you appreciate back. But the customer bit and making them better is very key, because I improve their life, they're happy with the service. Tomorrow they'll come back. We build loyalty.
As we wrap up, where do you see innovation in the next 5 years? Here at Safaricom, in Kenya, and also at the global stage?
Maybe it could get to a point where we're purely cashless. So how do you work like that? How do we sustain and make sure that we're always maintaining an uptime of 99.9? Always up, those are now things that you start looking at it. It does not only touch on the customer, but also on the technical feasibility. What is about to be supported at such a state and that time. And a lot of mental and health and well-being have been new and now building towards where someone has a life and is no longer tied to work. So you need to build them a lifestyle application. I can do this, I can do that. It's not like building an Android inside another phone where everything is done from one place. Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin. How about you, Andrew? Parting shot.
I think parting shot is sort of a reflection, because the essence of who you are today is informed by your past. I think despite all the changes, one thing that will always be constant with Safaricom is the purpose of transforming lives. We are continuously innovating, so we'll seek to embed tech. We want to be a producer of technology, to produce technology that will create a revolution within Africa, and basically power our future. So in our future, we'll still continue to be tech. We'll still have the customer at the center. We'll keep innovating. But what will remain constant, our spirit elements, purpose, collaboration, innovation, customer obsession, but we'll seek to continuously transform lives through the power of technology and innovation.
All right. Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you so much, Kevin, for joining me on today's podcast. So this has been the Safaricom Newsroom podcast, where we discuss about many things: innovation, technology, how to elevate your business, and many more exciting stories. Thank you for joining me, and if you want to catch this and many more episodes, remember to go to the Safaricom Newsroom podcast. There's also the website, which is the Safaricom Newsroom, to get this and more stories. Thank you very much, and have a good day.